Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining this week's CSI Secret Store Community Call. As a note, again, this meeting is governed by the CNCF, so it abides by the Code of Conduct. If you're not familiar with all the rules around Code of Conduct, please visit the repo. There's actually a Code of Conduct markdown file that'll have all the information there for you. All right, so welcome everyone. Last couple of weeks, we've not had too much attendance, and glad to see a lot of people are attending, which is great. What we tend to do, if we have new people that join the call, we just like to just do a quick round, just intro yourself to the community, and maybe speak about what you like about the project, or anything else that drove you here. So I'm just going to go down the list that I see here, kind of alphabetically, I'm assuming. And I'm going to start with, and hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, Amira. If you want to go ahead and just do a quick intro to the community, let us know about
Hi,
who you are.
yeah, okay. My name is Amira and I'm from Microsoft, and we are working on adding some functionality to the Secret Store CSI driver, mainly for Azure Kubernetes system.
All right. Thank you, Amira. Next up, I see a Daniel. Daniel, if you want to go ahead and
Sure. Hi, you guys. Yeah, thank you. I'm Daniel. I'm based in Europe. I work for a small software company called bluelab.eu, and we are basically users of Secret Store CSI. We use as a cloud provider GCP, and I'm a cloud infrastructure engineer, so I'm using all the tools and make things work. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. I know Tommy, one of our maintainers, works with Google, so I'm sure he'll be interested in how you're using the Google provider. Thank you, Daniel. Next, we have Aiden. Aiden, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the community.
I'm a product manager from Microsoft as well. I'm working with Amira and some of the Microsoft Europe.
Aiden, are you there? Okay, we'll circle back with you, Aiden. I do see you off mute, but we'll circle back. Next, we have, my list here is getting a little jumbled, but Roy. Roy, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Microsoft as well. I'm leading the team that Amira and Yuval is there.
Hey, Roy, I'm sorry to cut into you. You're coming in a little faint. Not sure if you're close to your mic. You could repeat that.
Now, can you hear me better?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Okay. So I'm Roy. I'm leading the team that Amira and Yuval are in. We are a security team of the S group inside Microsoft.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Eden. We could circle back to Aiden. Aiden, are you ready?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, cool.
Loud and clear.
Cool. So so each is my headset anyway. So I'm a product manager from Microsoft. I'm working with Roy, Amira, and Yuval here. We've been working on the encryption provider part, which we're probably going to cover today in this meeting later on. First time here, so it's nice to see everyone. Happy to join those calls. That's it.
All right. Thanks for joining. And last but not least, I'm not sure, it's a foreign language to me, so I can't even begin to pronounce this, but if you want to go ahead, and I think there's just an I in your icon, or is that?
Yuval, I think it's you.
Yeah,
you can hear
hello everyone. Yeah.
Hey.
My name is Yuval. and I'm working with Idan, Roy, and Amira from Microsoft from the security team. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. All right, so I'm assuming there's gonna be some big topics while the team's joining the call. Thanks, everyone. This is awesome seeing this call grow. With that, let's go ahead and get into the meeting. No major announcements. I'll be your moderator. I will try to attempt to take notes on the side here if no one else wants to volunteer for that. And with that, I think Nalek, you got a ton of items lined up. I think these are items that were pending from last week. Since we had low attendance, we just moved these forward. So with that, Nalik, I will let you talk about your first one here, which is the sync all secrets.
Yeah, I think those hyperlinks might have corrupted. I'm not sure if they're not working correctly.
Yeah, they don't.
But
Let's
we
see,
have,
if they're the same from previous.
I think so, yeah. Or I'm not sure if we have it. Okay, but then the gist is, I can probably just talk while we are looking for the links. So there is this thing called secrets PR, and I think there was an issue in Azure provider where they were asking, like, hey, can this also be supported for like James path queries and things like that. So I just wanted to circle back and see where this PR is, because we were discussing those topics in this PRs. In this PR, or probably taking or implementing that as a separate PR. So just wanted to circle back with everybody.
Yeah, I don't think Dane is on the call, but at least I saw he commented on the PR again. Like if you scroll all the way down, I think he did say he's caught up with a few other things and he'll get back to it soon.
Sorry, I mean.
It's all the way at the end.
Here.
Yeah, there.
Okay. So
yeah, so he said he's going to raise another PR.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but also like I think we can just check with Dane that if he has a design doc, so like we can see if it covers different scenarios before the actual PR comes up.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Okay, I'll document that. Ask for Dane to provide a little more description here with the design doc, and then we can move forward on that. I think we're done with that. Next one here. Like, do we need to go into this issue, or was the PR?
No,
okay?
they are sort of related. I just wanted to give some context, so that's why I was tagging you. I'll try to find that issue and maybe just fix the links.
Okay.
Later,
next one here, issue 948.
Yeah, this is interesting, and I think I wanted to talk with everybody about this. Okay, so the basic ask from the user over here is they want to have an ability to set the static secrets under the secrets object. So I think a bit more background on this is, so some scenarios, like I think what they have mentioned there is like an Argo CD, where they are not like a secrets, they are just more like a configuration settings, but they are expected to be created as a secret in Kubernetes, or Argo CD, for example, expects those things as a Kubernetes secrets. So what the user's asking over here is like, is there a way a secret store CSI driver can do it? So basically, in secret provider class, they want to just mention like, hey, like these are like the static keys or key value pairs, create them as a secret. So we have a functionality in the driver where we sync the mounted secret as a Kubernetes secret. So using that functionality, can we just create a static secret or static key value pairs as a secret as well? So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to check like everybody's opinion on this or what they think. Personally, I think this is sort of piggybacking on the functionality. So I mean, personally, I don't think we should implement it in this particular manner. What is being proposed here? The reason for that is again, like the core functionality of our driver is just fetching the secret and mounting it into the volume. So that's like the core essence of our of this project. This will be just sort of like piggybacking of that sync features, which I don't think we should do, to be honest. And having said that, like we are also thinking about like spinning up a separate project which does the injecting secrets as an environment variable without mounting. Maybe that can be a good candidate for this implementation, or this particular ask what users have. But yeah, I just wanted to check like everybody's opinion, what they think, or does this make sense to be included in the driver or not?
Yeah.
Nish. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, yeah, I just took a look at this one, and my read on it is that if the feature is needed for sync secrets, it's probably also needed for secrets that are written to the main use case of the file system secrets. And right now, what ends up in the file system is entirely determined by the providers. So if the providers supported like, hey, this file maps to this secret, or this set of files maps to these sets of secrets, like the providers could be extended to support like this file maps to this static value. And then it would be implicitly supported by the driver because the secrets object would just be able to pick that up. It doesn't really care if it's a secret or not a secret. So like, I think there's a way to support this without changing the driver and just extending some functionality to the providers, the regular flow.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Sorry, Anish, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I agree with Tommy. Like, plus also like when it comes to having it supported at the provider, like I think it would become a provider decision, right? Like at least from their standpoint, they might not want to support static secrets, but if they want to, again, it's not something like the driver really has to worry about. Like as long as the file exists, the driver relies on it. So we are not building anything new in the driver. So I like so I think Tommy also commented on the issue, so that's good.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, and I think they also have a associated PR with it. I haven't looked at the PR, like what's their implementation is, but maybe we should look at that as well and maybe give them this direction. I mean, they are very much interested in this, by the way. So I think they can always get the recording of this, but I think we can also have the notes in there.
Is this the PR? Now for now?
Yeah.
Can I give my input as an end user? Because I open a feature request as well. It's number 938, and then there's another request which is 948. So this is picking up interest, and by chance we both get blocked or we saw the feature request by the same reason, which is to implement Argo CD. Because as so Nilek said, you need to create 6 or 7 non-actual secrets. So because Argo CD pulled the secret to get the configuration. I don't want to get into implementation details because out of my scope, but the initial proposal of setting it as an end var into the pod, I don't think it will work because at least Argo CD needs to fetch information from the secret, and then rather than directly setting up as an end value. This for us is not a blocker, but it's something to consider. I don't see it scaling long term. The need to create 7 non-actual secrets for just one secret that I need to retrieve to mount to create the secret in Kubernetes.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that was a response to my suggestion there, but my suggestion is that the provider support it, not as an environment variable, but as a, this file maps to this static value rather than this file maps to this external secret. And if the Daniel, you said you were using like the GCP provider, is that right?
I'm using the GCP provider.
Yeah, so like under like the parameters secrets, we would just have like, something like instead of resource name and then a secret, we could have like, static string and then a value and then file name and then the file name that it maps to. So if the GCP provider like adds that functionality, then no changes are needed from the driver project. You could map just like that file name to a parameter and a secret, and it should end up being the same experience, I believe, that is requested in the issue, but just an implementation that pushes it to the providers instead of the overall driver, which I think would be preferable from the persona of the maintainers of the driver.
Yeah,
that
that makes total sense. But like I said, I don't want to go into the implementation details, so I don't know. You decide which is the best way how to tackle this, because we need to open a feature request to the provider. I guess it's not maintained by you guys, so then things to Google. But I don't know. Yeah, this is my reaching out.
All right. So Daniel, you said you'll open a feature request and then we'll keep it ready.
If you think this is the way to proceed, I can easily open a feature request to them, and from there I can link it to here and see what we can get out of this.
Yeah, we should probably find out also. It sounds like there's one request to the GCP provider for this. I'm not sure. It looks like the Nick that filed the issue may be looking at the AWS provider. Yeah, I think I don't know what a good way to get like more input if there are people using multiple providers, but I think that's something that I would be willing to add to the GCP provider. And yeah.
The thing is, then I understand the solution will be tackled on each provider, not on the driver. So just my point of view. We're putting the balls into the provider, balls outside, and we are not fixing this issue in one go. It will be fixing multiple goals, as I understand.
Correct.
Which I think will make things more difficult. This is just my point of view. Instead of you guys, I understand you. I'm just saying my point of view. Instead of Secret Store CSI providing this use case solution, which will be, I know it's, or maybe perhaps do not work with the driver, don't get me wrong, then it makes the solution much more complex, because now it's we need to go to AWS, GCP, Microsoft, Vault, and whoever else comes later on to use this CSI driver. Just my 5 cents.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that only the providers know the mapping of files, like to the contents of files. So it's hard to add the functionality into the driver across all providers when the driver isn't aware of kind of that mapping. It just forwards a request onto the providers and then gets back all of the data. So if we wanted to add it just to the driver, there's probably a lot more engineering work on figuring out how to kind of create kind of like a knowledge of the files in the secret provider class that the driver could be aware of is part of my technical explanation. I know that might not be satisfying to an end user, but I think that's why it would be slower to get this into the driver than to get it into the different providers.
Yeah, I personally now agree after listening to this solution. Like instead of not supporting it at all, I think this is the right way probably to do it. And I think the other part from driver's perspective, which is I was gonna add, is like it's more like mounting whatever provider is sending them back. So like if we look at the actual structure, right, we literally the driver literally receives the file path and the content, everything from the provider. So if provider, I mean, so whatever provider gives essentially is being mounted on by the driver. So this kind of does make sense from that perspective as well. Like let this functionality be at the provider, and then whatever driver receives anyway, it's gonna mount. So that's my opinion.
All right. If I'm summing it up, seems like fastest path is to do the implementation of the provider, and then I guess we can reassess, and there's enough commonality, we can maybe move it to the driver in the future, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's a number of spots where, like, if the driver was able to be more aware of the contents of the responses, like this kind of comes up in a few different types of issues, but and so there may be some sort of like structure we could extend the secret provider class to have, like, you know, some post processing on what is returned from providers, but I think that's probably a larger scope than what's needed to kind of like satisfy the request right now. But probably something worth looking into in the context of like post processing before mounting.
Okay. All right. Discussion here. Let's see, next up, Elect, you have a proposal for encryption provider. You want to chat about?
Yeah, right. So I'll, do you want to? Yeah, cool. So we have an actually issue created as well. So I've linked the issue as well. So what the basically that issue says is, right, today we are writing secrets on the file system in the plain text, and we got asked from the user, I guess, both internally and externally, like, can we, or is there a way to encrypt those secrets that we put it on the file system? Although it's a temp file system, still it's a plain text, and that might not be like a fully secured solution. So that's what the basically issue is, and the encryption provider is probably one of the answer that we want to propose to address that. What the generic idea behind this is, like, we will have so we have a pluggable provider model that we use today. So like we fetch the secrets from the external key vault using those providers. So we just tell driver that, hey, these are the providers that are available, and in secret provider class we just tell, like, hey, this is the provider you should use to fetch the secrets, and rest of the job is done by the actual provider of fetching the secrets and returning the file back. In the similar fashion, we wanted to also implement the encryption provider. So we have written this doc with the help of our internal team here at Microsoft in order to sort of provide that functionality. So the idea, again, you can, actually read through the entire documentation and please comment on this proposal. But the idea here, what we want to propose is like, like our existing provider, we will have an encryption provider which driver will call. So when the driver boots up, or driver provider boots up, we will also boot up the encryption provider, and that encryption provider will get registered by the driver, similar to our secrets provider that we have today. And we will have a particular interface. So the interface, what that interface should look like is also we have outlined over here. And if you can go back, right? Go down, scroll down a little bit. Maybe at the flow part, that might be like a really good way to explain this. Right. So what essentially what we are proposing is like there is a slight alteration. There will be a slight alteration in the flow. So for example, whenever we are creating a workload pod, right? If it's referring the CSI driver, the driver is going to call the secrets provider, fetch the secrets, and once it has the secret, we can check whether the encryption provider is enabled or not, or whether user want to encrypt those secrets or not. So instead of mounting, if that encryption provider is set to true, we will call the encryption provider, or at least the encrypt method of an encryption provider, get the encrypted content back, and then mount it to the driver. So that's the essence of it, or that's the core gist of it. And then there are like couple things I wanted to discuss, but before that, I just wanted to open floor for the questions first.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about this a little different.
Or do you think it will be a good idea to go through all the document or just all the section step by step? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like, I mean, you can. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, no, I'm just reading it for the first time now.
And
I don't know that like going through it. Yeah, I'm not sure how. Like, I think people probably need to just like sit and read.
Need some time.
Right. Yeah, we can. Sure. Yeah, that's why I was not sort of going through point by point, because anyways, like people have to probably go through the document and comment and whatnot. But one thing I will do, I just wanted to talk about. There are some open questions as well. They might be straightforward, but anyways, I wanted to just touch base on that, so that whenever you guys are reviewing this document, you will have that at the back of your mind as well. So one of the thing is like whenever we do this encrypt operation, right? So first of all, like we are proposing that this whole thing should sit behind a feature flag, so that way we can maintain the backward compatibility as well. And then the another probably the benefit of this is like if some provider is out of the box providing end-to-end encryption, then probably they don't want to use this, so they can just disable it. So having said that, so let's say there could be a scenario where driver got the secrets from the provider and now it wants to encrypt, but then the encrypt call fails, right? Then what should we do? Like, should we just reject all the requests, or should we sort of partially fulfill it? So for example, I mean, we still made that call and we still got the secret. So that's in it itself like an expensive call. So we have the secret, but just because encryption provider is failing, we should not reject it and mount the content anyways. So should we take that path, or if we have to take the path, should that be configurable? Like, let user decide what happens if the encryption provider fails, do they want to mount the secret as is, or just reject the request? From the user experience perspective, whenever this thing happens, the pod is stuck into container creating state. So if they choose to just discard the mounting in this case, then yeah, the pod will be stuck at the container creating state, and then we will have to just go through the logs from the drivers and providers and figure it out what's going on. So that's one question. The second question is more of like a logistics of it, like where we should put it, and had like a bit of a discussion with Anish, and he had like a really good suggestion on that, but wanted to discuss with the broader audience as well. So I think what we're proposing in the document right now is we will have just like the other providers that we have right now, correct? We will have a separate repository created for the encryption provider as well. And there can be like many encryption providers, like Microsoft probably is going to write one, but Google or anybody else, they can write their own provider as well. Or so if this is the case, then probably we can end up hosting that into our respective organizations' GitHub repository. Or I think the other thing, what could happen is like we can have like a common encryption provider, which is not like a some sort of a proprietary implementation of any one particular organization. So if that is the case, or like if we decided to write one for this for the driver, then should we host it in like Kubernetes 6 itself and things like that? So that is the that is another open question. Right now, I think what we are proposing from the Microsoft end is like, as I said, like we have our internal security team who is already working on it, right? So we'll probably have our own proprietary implementation for now for the driver, for the encryption provider. So probably we will end up creating that into our organization's repository itself. And we will have just a gRPC socket to communicate like we have for the other providers today. That's the idea. But yeah, this is more like talking from the thinking from the general sense.
I want to make sure I'm wrapping my head around this. So the solution is to encrypt the secret on the mounted drive, correct?
That's correct. That's right.
But I guess I'm looking at it from just a developer, right? My application is accessing this secret. So my application now needs to be able to do a handshake and get the key to decrypt.
Right. Yeah, that's
okay. Is that part of this solution, or am I thinking about this different?
That's actually a really good question.
Yeah, because if my app can't, because now you're required, and again, I just want to make sure I'm tracking this.
No,
app, yeah.
No, you're right, and I think that is one of the things also I have mentioned in the document. So this is a really good and valid question. So what that end user experience will look like, right? Like how the decrypt will work essentially. So what we are proposing right now is for this, from the driver perspective, the responsibility of this provider is to just encrypt. And the decrypt should handle by the encryption provider out of the box. So for example, like if there is some workload pod who wish to encrypt the secret, right? It will install the driver and the required providers with those settings, and the content that will get mounted on that workload pod, they will be encrypted. Now, since the encryption provider knows how to encrypt, it also knows how to decrypt, right? And it will have a necessary interface in order to do that encryption and decryption. So whenever they want to decrypt it, they will directly call the underlying encryption service in order to decrypt that secret and use it in their code. So that is going to be the user experience. And still, I think we are refining on it. And I think probably Amira or other folks can probably add to here. But this is what we are thinking right now from the providers from the encryption provider implementation perspective, not from the interface perspective. So as far as the interface goes or the driver responsibility goes, it will encrypt and its job is done. So that's what we are proposing right now. And the user experience part of it is offloaded to, or essentially the decryption part of it will be offloaded to the encryption provider detail.
Yeah, I got a couple of more. We could chat. I'll throw some stuff on in this because, yeah.
Okay, can I add a few words?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. I mean,
yeah, and the suggestion for the proposal for the encryption provider is just for encrypting the secret. We are not giving here the details about how the application or the service running on the pod will use it. This is something that is proprietary or internal. It's for example, you can think of a common key or a common hardware key on the node itself, and the encryption provider will encrypt with this key, and the pod itself will be able to access this key and later decrypt it when it needs to use it. But this is only, the details of the entire solution are left out of this proposal because they are internal. We are just giving here the interface for an encryption provider, just for encrypting or binding the secret to the node. We're not telling here or describing how the secret will later be used, and it will not be used through the encryption provider. So it's not part of the proposal itself.
Got it. Okay.
This is only a generic, it's only a generic interface, and anyone who wants to use it needs to give a complete implementation of both encryption and then using or decrypting the secret.
Got it. Okay.
If I may add,
what I understood. Yeah, go for it.
If I may add, this is only a generalization of the encryption process of the secret. In order to get a really secure solution, it's really tied to the environment you're running in. So we are going to implement tailored to our environment, but it might not apply to other environments, and you need a different solution for that. So this is just a generalization. So we'll be able to fetch the secret from the secret provider and encrypt it before anyone can read the file on the mountain.
Okay.
So I think I left some comments on the doc, but I think you can't just describe the encryption interface without describing the UX of what the workload needs to do, because you can't evaluate like the security of the interface without knowing like what happens on the decryption side. And so that's my
that's what
main
I was
comment there.
Yeah,
is
I'm
that
plus
like
on that.
Without some description of what the workload is supposed to do to consume the contents of the encrypted, and also like at that point, like the workload could probably just be talking to the secret API directly. Like, I'm not sure why you would be using the file system for this to consume the secrets if the workload needs to be modified to do decryption, because if you're able to modify the workload, like just talk to the secrets API directly, is generally what we have told integrators concerned with like the secrets being unencrypted in the file system is a quick and easy way to keep secrets out of the file system is to just talk to the API and not write them to the file system. But yeah, I can see the yeah, I can see the appeal. I know there's also like the other like Kubernetes secrets has the same problem, or like a desire to bind kind of or encrypt the secrets. But yeah, without a more complete flow of what the workload does, it would be hard for me to be supportive of adding this to the driver.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's actually a valid question. So let me do this. So I'll probably just go back to the team and we will just try to hash it out, the user experience part of it, and we'll try to elaborate on it here.
Yeah, one more thing I'll add is this solution supposed to be kind of item level encryption? Because I'm thinking with the new KMS encryption and now you can have etcd encrypted, is that not going to offer you the same protections, or is that completely different?
KMS is specifically for what we're storing in etcd.
So if you're using a normal Kubernetes secret with KMS that's encrypting etcd, so you are encrypted at rest with those secrets on is that any different from this?
Yeah, for in that particular scenario, we are encrypting the secrets which are Kubernetes secrets. We are still not doing anything which is mounted on the volume, which is specifically for which is written on the volume.
Okay, so this is specific to the volume mount. Okay.
I think that the main point is that once the secret is pulled out of the, for example, the AKV, the Azure Key Vault, or another secret store, it is mounted to the tmpfs in plain text, and then this tmpfs cannot be deleted while the pod is running. So we are leaving the secret in plain text on the file system, even though it's in memory, but it is in plain text. And the main idea behind adding it to the CSI driver is that the mount itself will mount an already encrypted secret. So, or something that if someone can view it, it will not make any, it could not use it. So we need, I mean, we need to mount it already encrypted, or at least the value in the tmpfs should be encrypted. And this is something that CSI driver today cannot do. Even if the secret is encrypted in the etcd or in the Azure Key Vault, it is protected. Once it is mounted, it's in plain text. And
yeah,
that is the main.
I understand that. The way that we've addressed this is like, if you have the ability to change the application to perform decryption, we have recommended people just not use the CSI driver to avoid the file system entirely, and change the application to talk to one of the secret APIs directly. Like instead of performing a decrypt, right, just make the API call to Vault or Key Vault or Secret Manager directly. And that are, at least from my perspective, the main use case of the CSI driver is for applications that can't be updated to kind of like use proprietary secret APIs.
Yeah, but then you have the problem of each service or each application running on a pod. It needs to be aware or understand the API of, for example, the Vault or the secret store. We want to make it almost seamless. I mean, so
but
yeah.
But you still have the same problem of making all of the pods need to know how to perform the decryption. And in my view, then you have like a key management problem and an application update problem, which is more complicated. But like, I understand the generic request of like, yeah, if there's a generic way that everything does like decryption and applications can leverage that it's useful. But I think the decryption flow needs to be described or like not proprietary in order for it to be kind of like useful in general. That way, like the applications that were updated to perform decryption will actually like work cross-platform and cross APIs.
Well, another point is that using the CSI driver will also benefit from the automatic rotation. I mean, if the secret is changed in the key vault, it gets re-encrypted through the provider automatically and then updated in the pod's mount. And if the application itself needs to be, communicate with a key vault, it needs to be aware of rotation and update the secrets. It's more complicated, and the CSI driver is much more useful here.
So to be clear, applications right now using the CSI driver and rotation do need to know to reread the secret. So like there is some amount of modification in order to need to notice and react to new values too. So that is also a point where instead of a file read, it could be an API call.
It's not automatically?
Let's do this.
No, the actual workload needs to, like, sure, the file gets updated on the file system, but the workloads need to know to reread the file system. So either setting up a file system watcher or polling the file system.
Yeah, but it's easier. Yeah. Just having a watcher, for example, yeah.
Yeah,
I think. I just want to be mindful of the time. I know there's a couple of, I'm fine if we want to continue this conversation on this, or if we want to just add comments to this doc and have this discussion on Slack. I don't know. Let me just double check what's left. Chat about.
I think
we don't have anything else. This is probably the last.
So this is, I see this. Okay.
Yeah, but
I guess we're fine.
Like, just to add my quick 2 cents, I think like what Tommy is saying is perfectly valid, right? Like in terms of the user experience on the decrypt flow, like at least my personal opinion is if we can validate this design with maybe like some of the users who are asking for it, like just to see what they think about making code changes to actually do the decrypt, or would they rather prefer just moving away from CSI driver given this limitation? Like that will also be like a value add for this proposal. Like that is my 2 cents.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so I think let's probably like we work with the team and see what that user experience is going to be, and we'll try to sort of put those in the doc and see at least the flow of it.
Okay.
Oh, one thing I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick. So Tommy, for your suggestion, what you suggested, right? Or you have been suggesting to user for doing the encrypt and decrypt by themselves. So what's the generic flow gonna look like? Like when people put the secrets in the key vault, they will be in the encrypted by default. So when they are mounted, they are obviously encrypted, and then they know how to decrypt it because they encrypted it in the first place to put it in the key vault. Is that the what you have in the mind, or you suggest?
No, what you're describing there, I think would work and provide encrypted secrets on the file system, but without any driver changes. I think the the desire here, right, is the unencrypted values to be in the external store, and then to do some encryption. But the work, like if the files on disk are encrypted and encrypted by the provider, then we need to describe what is the workflow, like what does the workload need to do to decrypt those values.
No, that part I completely agree. I was just trying to understand your suggestion that you give to user otherwise. Like, I think I get it now. So I think probably you just say like, don't use CSI driver at all and just talk to secrets API directly and fetch the secrets, encrypt it or decrypt it in the application, however you want. Is that the?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I can write it down, but like one of them is to just use the secrets API like directly with no encryption, but then using the API, right? It never enters a file system. It's just in task in memory.
Okay.
The other one would be, you know, like the user when writing a secret to like Key Vault could encrypt it client side, write it to Key Vault. The CSI driver brings the encrypted value right to disk, and then since they encrypted it before they wrote it to Key Vault, presumably the workload would have some permissions to do to be modified to do the decryption. Both of those things require no changes from the driver or providers, but it seems like what this is looking for is the value in Key Vault is, you know, unencrypted. The provider fetches that and then does some sort of encryption before giving it to the workload. And yeah, the question is then how does the workload consume the encrypted value? Yeah, so it seems like three approaches. This one talks about the third, but just leaves out what the workload needs to do, and that's what I think is kind of the important part to evaluate.
Yeah, and also just
sense.
to add to it, the second one was something we did think about, I think, last year, right? Like where the user actually stores the encrypted secret in like the external secret store, and then our driver would get it and put it in the file mount. And then the decryption part was the only concern there, because let's say it's encrypted using like a private key or something. So does the driver get the private key and store that in plain text? Or would the workload just have to make one external API call to get that encryption key, keep it in memory, and then do decryption? Like, I think the decryption story, even in that implementation, was the thing that made us rethink that a couple of times. Like, oh, so we have to ask the implementers of the workload to go and make changes so that they have to do decryption.
Makes sense. Yeah. Cool.
All right, a lot of discussion on that. It's a pretty hot topic. I guess going forward, yeah, this is the doc, so just add your comments to it, and I guess we'll pick this up in a couple of weeks. With that, I think that was the last discussion item. We got a couple of minutes if anyone wants to bring up anything else on the call while everyone's here. Okay.
I think only one thing was I did see there was one GitHub issue that got reopened for metrics in GKE. So I think they are saying only in GKE clusters they are unable to see the metrics. So I think we might need to look into that. Like, I think it's issue number 821.
Missing metrics in GKE. Okay.
I did tag Tommy in it, but like just so that we can try and repro. But yeah, we can probably take a look, because I thought it was only one user, but there are a couple of them who are saying they're only having issues in GKE. So, and I know we get these metrics in Azure, and we haven't had any issues because we have that as part of the add-on. So.
Okay, I'll take a look on that.
Okay. They're saying this is BK specific possible. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but that is all I had. And then I think in terms of the next driver release, there's one PR that we want to add. So I will open that up for review soon. But we can plan for the release in the next 2 weeks. Like that's what I was thinking, provided we get all the feedback and get it merged.
All right. That's going to be
1.2.
1.2, correct? Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So we had that from last meeting. Awesome. Okay. I think we're at time. Thanks, everyone. Good conversations around the encryption. I'm sure we'll continue on. Next call will be in a couple of weeks. That's going to be June the 9th. And I'll go ahead and prep the doc for the new session. And please feel free to put in the agenda items as soon as possible. And with that, thanks everyone for joining. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.